welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Eclipse, Second Dawn for the Galaxy. This is a 2 to 6 player resource management area movement 4X game. Tension and discord in the galaxy is growing and conflict is inevitable. So you'll take the role of a species. You'll be exploring, researching technology, building, upgrading, and engaging in combat, trying to emerge victorious and control the galaxy. How do you emerge victorious and control the galaxy and win the game? By having the most victory points at the end of the 8th round. Now that we know what the winning condition is, let's take a look at the components set up and how gameplay works in Eclipse, Second Dawn for the Galaxy. Now let's take a look at the components. You have the Galactic Center Sector tile, Guardian Sector tiles, and Regular Sector tiles. Regular Sector tiles are labeled 1 through 3, which corresponds to the ring around the Galactic Center Sector tile. On the sector tiles, you have victory points, artifacts, wormhole connections, population squares for money, materials, and science, advanced population, indicated by the white border, and influence space. The Galactic Center Defense System. This goes on the Galactic Center Sector tile. The Galactic Center Defense System Blueprint tiles. Guardians, Guardian Blueprint tiles. Ancients, Ancient Blueprint tiles. Tech Tray. This has your round track at the top, and underneath, spaces for your tech tiles. Tech tiles. The cost for the tech tile is in the bottom left, and it costs science. Based on the place on your player board where you will place it, you could reduce that number down to a maximum of what's in black in the bottom left corner. The color of tech tile indicates which row it will go on your species board. The title is at the top of the tech tile, and the benefit is in the middle of the tech tile. Ship part or upgrade tray. This holds all of your ship part or upgrade tiles. Ship part or upgrade tiles. The name is at the top, along with the initiative, which are white arrows. The symbol is in the middle of the tile. Tech requirement is in the bottom left corner, and the energy consumption that it would use is in the bottom right corner. Discovery tiles. These are played for either the victory points on the back of the tile or the bonuses on the front of the tile. Reputation tiles. These will be in-game victory points and will go on your reputation track. Warp portal tile. Orbital or monolith tiles. These are used if you run out of orbitals or monoliths. Start player tile, trader tile, info tiles, round marker. In each species color, you have a species board. At the top, you have ship blueprints and costs. Underneath that, on the left side, you have monolith and orbital costs, the species symbol, species name, trade value, species ability, starting sector, action track, and then to the right of that, you have your tech track with any starting technology. Underneath your tech track, you have your influence track, and then on the right side, you have your reputation track. Control board. These hold spaces for your population cubes and places for your storage markers around the outside. Graveyards in the center of each track, and resource tracks for money, science, and materials. In your species tray, you have interceptors, cruisers, dreadnoughts, star bases, colony ships. Colony ship tiles allow you to put population cubes out on sector hexes. Ambassador tiles. These are only used in a 4+ player games. Storage markers, population cubes. Influence discs, starting sector hex. Summary tile, monoliths, which give you victory points at the end of the game. Orbitals, which allow you to use a population cube of money or science. Damage cubes, dice with yellow, orange, blue, and red. Cloth bags, one for technology tiles, and one for reputation tiles. And then finally, your rulebook. Now let's take a look at the setup. We're going to be setting this up for a 3-player game, which takes 13 steps. Step 1, place the upgrade tray to the side of the play area. Step 2, place the tech tray to the side of the play area with the round marker on 1. Step 3, draw tech tiles. Place the tech tile in the corresponding draw bag, then draw tech tiles to place in the tech tray up to a number of regular tiles based on the number of players. This is indicated in the rulebook. Then you would place the bag to the side. Step 4, place resource trays. Place the 2 resource trays to 2 sides of the play area. Step 5, choose and place blueprint tiles. Choose 1 blueprint tile of each type Ancient, Guardian, and GCDS and place them next to the tech tray. Step 6, place discovery tiles. Shuffle the discovery tiles face down and place them next to the tech tray. Step 7, in a 4 or more player game, place the trader next to the discovery tiles. Step 8, separate and shuffle sector tiles. Separate the sector tiles by the level on the back of the tile. Shuffle each stack face down and place them to the side of the play area with a number of level 3 tiles based on the number of players. Step 9, choose a start player and give them the start player tile. Step 10, get player components. Starting with the player to the right of the start player and going counterclockwise, each player will choose a race and get the corresponding command board and tray. Step 11, Place your player components. Place the species board in the center of your player area, open your species tray, and place your influence on your influence track. Place storage markers on the space indicated by your abilities, a population cube on each space after 2 on your population wheels, colony ships under your species board, and in a 4 or more player game, your ambassador tiles under your species board, and the control board and species tray next to your player board. Step 12, create the map. Place the Galactic Center sector tile in the center of the play area with a Discovery tile face down and the GCDS miniature on top. Then place your starting sectors and a number of Guardian sectors based on the number of players and the diagram in the rulebook. For Guardians, you place the tile facing center with a Discovery tile face down and the Guardian on top. For starting sectors, they face the center with an influence token from your influence track and population cubes from that population's wheel. Keep in mind that you will not place them on advanced spots unless you have that ability. And then finally, place 1 interceptor on your starting sector. And then step 13, place reputation in the reputation bag to the side of the play area. Now let's take a look at the gameplay. A game consists of 8 rounds. Each round consists of 4 phases: action, combat, upkeep, and cleanup. Now let's look at each in detail. Phase 1, the action phase. With a start player going clockwise, players will take 1 action until all players pass. When taking an action, place the leftmost influence disc on that action on your action track. Keep in mind that the same action can be taken multiple times. The first player to pass gets the start player tile and 2 money. There are 6 possible main actions: explore, research, upgrade, build, move, and influence. Exploring. On the action track, it has the name, icon, and number of activations. For each activation, you would choose a zone to explore next to a sector you control or have at least 1 unpinned ship. You would flip the top sector tile from that corresponding ring, then choose an orientation and place it or discard the tile. If you place it, the tile must connect to your sector tile through a wormhole connection unless you have a wormhole generator. If the place sector tile has an ancient, you would place a discovery tile and then the corresponding ancient. If it has just a discovery tile pictured, the player exploring gets the tile and decides which side to use. Finally, if it had no ancients, the exploring player can take control of this sector by placing a disc on it from their influence track. Keep in mind that if a ring stack is empty, you would shuffle the discard pile. Research. On the action track, it has a name, symbol, and number of activations. For each activation, research 1 tech tile from the tech tray and pay its science cost, minus any row discounts up to the black number, and place it on the leftmost open space in the corresponding row: military, grid, or nano. Keep in mind that rare tech can go in any row, and there are 4 types of tech effects: squares, which are ship parts, the wrench, which is build, the star, which is instant, and nothing is permanent. The more you fill in a row, the more victory points you get at the end of the game, and that number is the top left of the next open spot. And a description of each tech tile is in the rulebook. Upgrade. On the action track, it has a name, symbol, and number of activations. This action allows you to modify your ship blueprints. You would choose a ship to upgrade and choose an upgrade you have researched and have the energy for. Keep in mind that the drives must be present on the interceptors, cruisers, and dreadnoughts, but cannot be present on star bases. Weapons, or the dice, allow more dice for combat. Missiles, which is a missile located over the dice, and these would fire first, but they would only fire once. Computers, or the white square, add to the dice to hit on numbers. Shields, or the black squares, reduces an opponent's dice number. Hulls, or stars with a circle around, is the damage the ship can take. Drives, or the hexagon, is movement. And the lightning bolt is energy. When placing these, you must have the energy to be able to place it, as well as a space to place it on. This might mean replacing what is printed on the blueprint, or replacing a tile. Build. On the action track, it has the name, symbol, and number of activations. You would pay the materials to build a ship, and if you have the technology, a starbase, orbital, or monolith. And keep in mind that each sector can only have 1 monolith and 1 orbital. Move. On the action track, it has the name, symbol, and number of activations. For each, move a ship up to the drive total on that ship. When moving to a sector where another player's ship or ancient is located, you are pinned and stop movement. The GCDS pins all ships, and you are not allowed to move to an unexplored sector. Influence. On the action track, it has the name, symbol, and number of activations. You would move an influence disc from your influence track, or a sector you control, to an uncontrolled sector where you have a ship, or where you are connected through a wormhole connection, and no opponent's ships are located. Or you may move 1 back to your influence track. Anytime during this action, you can flip 2 colony ships. If you remove an influence disk from a sector, you must remove the population cube and place them back on their corresponding population tracks. A gray space would go back to any track, and an orbital can go to either. If a track is completely filled, you can place them in another track of your choice. Once you've taken all the actions you want, you would pass, and you would flip your summary tile, and the first to pass gets the start player tile. Players can then take reduced actions until all players pass. Anytime during your turn, you can flip colony ships over to place out a corresponding population cube on a sector you control and their population square or orbital. In a 4 or more player game, you have diplomacy. 2 players may exchange ambassador tiles to get a victory point and increase their production with a production cube. For the players to do so, they must have joined sectors they control, they cannot have ships in the other player's sector, or if either already hold a trader tile or has no room on their reputation track. Both sides must agree. Only an act of aggression can remove the ambassador tile, where you end a turn in a sector that the other player controls. When broken, the player that broke relations gets the trader tile, and the tiles go back along with the population cube. The population cube would go to the resource of the player's choice. Once all the players pass, we move to Phase 2, the combat phase. The combat phase is carried out in 3 steps: determine battles, resolve battles, and the aftermath. Step 1, determine battles. A battle is a sector occupied by more than one opponent. Battles are resolved in descending sector number. More than 2 opponent battles are carried out in reverse entry order, with the last to enter being the attacker. Step 2, resolve battles. Battles in each sector are resolved in the following 7 steps. First, determine order, if there are more than 2 in a sector. Second, determine attacker and defender, based on the entry order in the sector, with controlling players always defending. Third, determine initiative. For use in the 4th and 5th step, for missiles or engagement rounds, you would add up the number of arrows. Fourth, missiles are fired. They are fired once and by ship type in initiative order. These hit only on stars, and multiple damage on 1 dice cannot be split. Fifth, repeated engagement rounds until all players' ships either retreat or are destroyed. In initiative order by ship type, stars are automatic hits, and numbers plus the computers minus the other player's shields would allow players to hit for each 6th number. When battling the Guardians, Ancients, or GCDS, you would use their blueprints. Ships can retreat, spending their activation to a sector that they control, but takes 2 activations to complete and can be destroyed until they are fully complete. Sixth, draw reputation tiles. The battling players would draw reputation tiles in entry order and based on the battle up to 5, and they would place 1 on the reputation track. They would draw 1 for participating in the battle, 1 for each destroyed interceptor, starbase, or ancient, 2 for a cruiser or guardian, 3 for a dreadnought or GCDS. Seventh, return the destroyed ships to their owners. Then we would move to step 3 of the combat phase, aftermath. When a player's ship is in a sector that another player controls, they would attack population cubes. Each ship may attack cubes 1 time, following normal hit rules, returning the population cubes to that player. These cubes would go to the graveyard or the center of that track, keeping in mind that orbit cubes can be attacked. Then influence sectors. In sectors with your ship and no opponent's population cubes, you would return the opponent's influence disk to their track, and you may place 1 of yours on that sector. Then you would collect the discovery tile if there is one, and then finally return damage cubes. Once all the combats have been resolved, we move to phase 3, the upkeep phase. This is carried out in 3 steps. Step 1, activate colony ships. If you have any available colony ships, you may flip them over to place out population cubes in a sector that you control. Step 2, civilization upkeep. You would collect money from your production wheel and pay the upkeep cost, which is indicated on the rightmost blank space on your influence track. If you cannot pay, you must convert science and material or abandon sectors to place influence disks back on your influence track. Keeping in mind that if you abandon sectors, you would also remove your population cubes from those sectors. If you still can't pay, then the player is eliminated. Step 3, you would gain your science and materials based on their production wheels. Then we move to phase 4, cleanup. This is carried out in 3 steps. Step 1, draw tech tiles based on the number of players. Rare techs do not count toward this total. Step 2, move all influence disks on actions back to the influence track, and any cubes from your graveyard to the production wheel. And step 3, advance the round marker, flip colony ships face up, and flip the action phase overview over. Then we will begin the next round. Then rounds would continue until the end of the 8th round. At the end of the 8th round, we would go to the final scoring. Final scoring takes 8 steps. Step 1, total your reputation tiles. Step 2, total your ambassador tiles. Step 3, total the victory points for your controlled sectors. Step 4, add all your monolith victory points. Step 5, add your discovery tile victory points. Step 6, subtract victory points for the trader tile. Step 7, add victory points for your technology progress. And then step 8, add any species bonuses. Then you would total your victory points, and the species with the most victory points is the most dominant species and is ultimate ruler of the galaxy and wins Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy.